The moment she screamed at me for accepting a female colleague's LinkedIn request was the exact moment I realized my marriage had become a prison. 3 years of slowly surrendering my freedom, one small rule at a time. 3 years of walking on eggshells in my own home. I sat there, a successful project manager reduced to a man who needed permission to go for drinks with friends. A man whose phone was regularly inspected like I was some teenager. A man who had to text her when leaving work and again when I was 10 minutes from home. Not 5 minutes. Not 15. Exactly 10. My reflection in the bathroom mirror told the story better than words could. The confident man who once led teams and commanded respect had been replaced by someone I barely recognized. Someone whose wardrobe had been adjusted because certain clothes might attract attention. Someone who canceled plans at the last minute because she wasn't feeling well for the 5th time that month. Last week, I found myself apologizing for speaking to my neighbor for too long. My neighbor, a 65-year-old retired man who just wanted to talk about lawn care. That's when something broke inside me. That's when I admitted to myself what I'd been denying. I had been systematically trained like an animal. The control started small, reasonable even. Just let me know where you'll be, I worry. Then evolved to tracking apps, timed check-ins, and eventually veto power over virtually every aspect of my life. Friends disappeared first. Then family visits became less frequent. My hobbies? Abandoned one by one. She didn't start this way. Once, she was confident, vibrant. But insecurity consumed her, transformed her. Each demand came with tears, accusations, or cold silence that could last for days. The path of least resistance became compliance. Peace at the cost of my dignity. Today, something changed. While mindlessly scrolling during my lunch break, I stumbled across a YouTube video. How I escaped my controller wife. The thumbnail showed a man who looked exactly how I felt. I looked over my shoulder before clicking, an instinctive behavior that itself proved how far I'd fallen. For 30 minutes, I watched someone tell my story. The same patterns, the same slow erosion of self. But he escaped. He reclaimed his life in what he called 3 days of detoxification. 3 days to break the programming. 3 days to remember who he was. I closed my office door and watched 3 more videos. Men describing the same situation, the same awakening, the same liberation. I wasn't alone, and I wasn't helpless. That night, as she lectured me about speaking too long to a female cashier, I nodded and apologized as usual. But inside, something had shifted. I wasn't going to live this way anymore. Not for another day. I had a plan forming. 3 days, that's all I needed. Tomorrow would be day 1 of my detoxification. Tomorrow, I'd start dismantling the cage I'd helped build around myself. Tomorrow, I'd begin the process of becoming a man again instead of an obedient pet. She had no idea what was coming. Neither did I fully. But for the first time in years, I felt something resembling hope. I went to bed that night with a secret. By the weekend, either this marriage would fundamentally change, or it would end. Either way, I was breaking free. 3 years of control were about to be erased in 3 days. I woke up earlier than usual, careful not to disturb her. For once, the anxiety that typically shadowed my mornings felt different, purposeful. I had spent half the night planning my 3 days of detoxification after she'd fallen asleep. Day 1 would be action without explanation. Day 2 would be confrontation and boundary setting. Day 3 would be resolution, one way or another. In the shower, I rehearsed what breaking free would actually look like. No more texting my whereabouts every hour. No more sending photos to prove where I was. No more canceling gym memberships because we should work out together, which never happened. No more asking permission to see my brother. I'd already taken the first step yesterday, a separate bank account she knew nothing about. For months, I'd been transferring small amounts that wouldn't raise suspicions. Now I had enough for first and last month's rent on an apartment I'd secretly viewed last week. The leasing agent's confusion when I asked if we could meet during my lunch break and insisted on paying the deposit in cash made sense to everyone but me back then. The YouTube videos had opened my eyes to how common my situation was. Men trapped by emotional manipulation, gradually surrendering their independence inch by inch. Men who'd been conditioned to believe this intensity was love, not control. Men who found their way back to themselves through decisive action. The videos all emphasized one critical point. Controllers don't change without consequences. Talking, pleading, couples therapy. These men had tried everything. Nothing worked until they demonstrated they would actually walk away. I left for work 20 minutes early, stopping to get coffee, something I'd been forbidden from doing because we need to save money, despite her regular shopping sprees. The barista remembered my order from years ago. Such a small thing, but it felt revolutionary. At lunch, I called my brother for the first time in months. The conversation was awkward at first, but he didn't ask questions about my absence. Instead, he invited me to watch the game at his place Saturday. I accepted without my usual, "I need to check with her first." After work, I stopped at the bank and withdrew enough cash to survive if she froze our joint accounts. Then I visited a mobile phone store and purchased a second phone with a new number. This would be my lifeline if things went nuclear. I removed the tracking app from my primary phone. She would notice this immediately, but that was part of the plan. No more gradual approach. This was shock and awe. I drove to a restaurant we had argued about countless times, an innocent sports bar she insisted was just for men looking to cheat. I sat at the counter, ordered food, and sent a quick text to my new landlord confirming I could move in emergency supplies tonight. Then I waited for the inevitable. 3, 2, 1. My phone exploded with notifications. "Where are you? The tracker says you're not moving. Are you ignoring me? Hello? Hello?" I silenced my phone and enjoyed my meal. By the time I finished, there were 31 messages and 12 missed calls. In the past, this would have sent me into a panic. Today, it confirmed I was on the right path. On the drive home, I mentally prepared for the confrontation waiting behind our front door. The old me would have apologized, made excuses, promised to do better. The new me was ready to begin phase 1 of reclaiming my life. As I pulled into the driveway, I reminded myself of what those YouTube creators had said. The first day is the hardest. But if you can make it through day 1, you've already won. With that thought, I stepped out of the car and walked toward what would either be the beginning of my freedom or the end of my marriage. Perhaps both. The storm hit the moment I walked through the door. She stood in the entryway, arms crossed, face contorted with what I used to mistake for concern, but now recognized as fury over losing control. "Where have you been? Why isn't your location showing up? Why haven't you answered my calls?" The questions fired like bullets. In the past, I would have scrambled to explain, to defuse, to appease. Today was different. Day 1 of my detoxification had officially begun. I went out for dinner after work. Simple, direct, no apologies. Her eyes widened at my brevity. "You didn't think to tell me? I've been worried sick. Called you 12 times. I saw." I walked past her into the kitchen, poured myself water, and leaned against the counter. The space between us charged with unfamiliar tension. "You saw? That's all you have to say? What restaurant were you at? Who were you with? Why did you turn off your location?" Her voice rose with each question. "I was alone. I turned off the tracking app because I don't want to be tracked anymore." The words came out calmer than I expected. She stepped back as if I'd physically pushed her. "What's gotten into you? Is there someone else? Is that it?" The irony wasn't lost on me. Her immediate assumption that independence meant infidelity. "No, there's no one else. I just don't want to be monitored constantly." We agreed on this. We both share our locations for safety. The familiar manipulation was starting, reframing control as mutual agreement and concern. "No, you insisted, and I gave in. That's not happening anymore." I kept my voice level, making eye contact without aggression or submission. Her strategy shifted instantly. Tears formed. "Why are you being so cold? You're scaring me. This isn't like you." "You're right. This isn't like the me you've created. It's like the me I used to be." I moved toward the stairs. "I'm going to take a shower." "We're in the middle of a conversation," she shouted. "We're in the middle of you questioning me. That's not a conversation." I went upstairs, closed the bathroom door, and turned on the shower. My phone vibrated continuously with texts. I silenced it without reading them. In the steam and privacy, I took deep breaths. The trembling in my hands revealed how foreign this defiance felt. After my shower, I found her waiting in the bedroom, her anger temporarily replaced with a calculated softness. "Baby, I'm sorry if the location thing bothers you. I just worry about you. You know how anxious I get." The old manipulative pattern. Her anxiety as justification for controlling me. My compliance as proof of love. "I understand you get anxious. That's something you need to work on. It's not something I need to enable." Her facade cracked. "So you just don't care how I feel anymore?" "I care very much how you feel. I just care about how I feel too now. She reached for my hand. I let her take it, but didn't squeeze back. What's happening here? Talk to me. I'm reclaiming some basic independence. That's all. This is about that woman at work, isn't it? The LinkedIn thing. I almost laughed. No. This is about me not needing permission to accept a professional connection, or to get dinner alone, or to have friends. I never said you can't have friends, she protested. When was the last time I saw any of mine without an argument? She had no answer. I picked up my phone and calmly deleted 3 more tracking apps I discovered over the months. Then I ordered rideshare to a nearby sports bar where the playoff game was showing. I'm going out to watch the game. It's a weeknight, she said, as if this was a criminal act. Yes, it is. I grabbed my jacket and walked downstairs. Behind me, she called out. If you leave right now, don't bother coming back tonight. I turned, making sure my face showed no anger, no fear. That threat might have worked before. It doesn't anymore. As I walked out the door, her expression of shocked disbelief told me everything I needed to know. Day 1 was succeeding beyond my expectations. The power dynamic had already begun to shift. In the car, I texted my brother, still on for the game Saturday? His immediate response, hell yes. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. Day 1, complete. 2 more to go. I returned home late, intentionally well after she would normally be asleep. The house was dark except for the living room lamp, her passive-aggressive signal that she'd waited up. I found her curled on the couch, phone in hand, monitoring the door like a sentry. It's almost midnight, she said, voice thick with practiced victimhood. It is, I agreed, hanging my jacket with deliberate calm. You've never done this before, she said, searching my face for guilt or signs of intoxication. Finding neither visibly frustrated her. Today is a day of firsts, I replied, heading to the kitchen for water. Day 2 was about to begin, the confrontation phase. She followed, hovering in the doorway. We need to talk about what's happening. Yes, we do. I leaned against the counter, ready for the conversation I'd rehearsed mentally all evening. I've been thinking about our marriage and how it's evolved over the last 3 years. What does that mean? Her defensive posture told me she already sensed where this was going. It means I've allowed you to control virtually every aspect of my life, and I'm done with that arrangement. Her eyes widened. Control you? I don't control you. I care about you. You track my location. You monitor my phone. You've isolated me from friends and family. You decide what I wear, where I go, who I talk to. That's not care. That's control. That's ridiculous. You're making me sound like some kind of monster. I'm describing behavior, not making judgments about who you are. She switched tactics, tears forming on command. If you felt this way, why didn't you say something sooner? I did, many times. You either dismissed my concerns or made me feel guilty for having them. That's not true, she protested. 3 months ago, I asked to go on a fishing trip with my college friends. You said, and I quote, if you really loved me, you wouldn't even want to go. She flinched at having her own words reflected back. That was different. Those guys always hit on women when they go out. No, they don't. That's something you invented to justify keeping me home. So what are you saying? You want a divorce? The question came with a triumphant edge, like she was calling a bluff. I'm saying I want a marriage between equals, not a prison sentence. Whether that's possible depends on both of us. Her tears vanished, replaced by cold anger. So you're giving me an ultimatum? I'm establishing boundaries. There's a difference. Like what boundaries? The skepticism in her voice was palpable. No more tracking apps. No more monitoring my communications. No more veto power over my friendships or family relationships. No more controlling my schedule or wardrobe. She laughed bitterly. So basically you want to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want. I want basic adult freedom within a committed relationship. Nothing I'm asking for would be considered unusual in a healthy marriage. And if I say no? Her chin lifted in challenge. Then yes, divorce becomes the logical next step. I said it calmly, stating a fact rather than making a threat. The color drained from her face as she realized I wasn't bluffing. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Why are you doing this to us? She whispered, reverting to victim mode. I'm not doing anything to us. I'm refusing to continue doing something to myself. She tried one last familiar tactic, questioning my mental health. You're not acting like yourself. Maybe you should talk to someone. Dr. Russell has openings this week. Dr. Russell, her chosen therapist who had always seemed strangely aligned with her perspective on our relationship issues. If we pursue counseling, it won't be with Russell. It would be with someone neither of us has seen before. This direct challenge to her controlled narrative visibly shocked her. She stared at me as if seeing a stranger. In some ways, I was. I'm going to bed, I said. Tomorrow we can continue this conversation when we're both rested. That's it. You drop this bomb and just go to sleep. Yes, because this isn't a negotiation happening tonight. It's me informing you of decisions I've already made. As I climbed the stairs to our bedroom, her voice followed me. You'll regret this. You're making a huge mistake. I turned, meeting her gaze one last time for the night. The mistake was letting things get this far. The regret would be continuing to live this way. I closed the bedroom door behind me, not bothering to lock it. I didn't need physical barriers anymore. The psychological wall I'd erected was stronger than any door. Day 2 was proceeding exactly as planned. I'd stated my boundaries clearly. Tomorrow would bring resolution, one way or another. As I drifted off to sleep, I realized something remarkable. For the first time in years, I felt no anxiety about the morning to come. I woke before my alarm, invigorated despite the minimal sleep. Day 3 had arrived, resolution day, the final phase of my detoxification plan. She wasn't in bed. I heard her downstairs, talking in hushed, urgent tones. Calling reinforcements, no doubt. Predictable. The YouTube videos had warned about this stage. When controllers realize direct tactics aren't working, they mobilize allies. I showered and dressed in a blue button-down she'd repeatedly criticized as too attractive for work. Small acts of independence still felt revolutionary. Downstairs, she was waiting at the kitchen table, phone face down beside her. The forced serenity on her face couldn't hide the redness around her eyes. I made coffee, she said softly. Thank you. I poured a cup, but didn't sit. I've been thinking about our conversation, she began, voice measured. I realize I might have been overprotective sometimes. Controlling, I corrected. Not protective. Her jaw tightened momentarily before she forced another smile. I just want us to be happy. We can work on this together. I've already started working on it. That's what the last 2 days have been about. But we need professional help, she insisted. I talked to my mother, and she agrees. I don't need your mother's opinion on our marriage. I set my mug down, and I've made my position clear. You're being unreasonable. The facade cracked. Everyone thinks so. Everyone meaning your mother and sister? I asked calmly. The people who've encouraged your behavior for years? She flushed. They care about me. About us. They care about you. They've never shown any interest in my perspective. That's not true. My mom always asks how you're doing. She asks how work is going. She asks about promotions and money. She doesn't ask about me as a person. Her phone buzzed. I caught a glimpse of the screen, her sister's name. Right on schedule. I need to take this, she said. No, you don't. This conversation is between us. She hesitated, clearly torn between answering and maintaining the appearance of prioritizing our discussion. The phone kept buzzing. Go ahead, I said. But while you're talking, you should know I've already spoken with a lawyer. Her hand froze above the phone. What? Yesterday. During lunch. You can't be serious. The color drained from her face. I reached into my work bag and removed a manila envelope. Divorce papers. Already filled out. Equitable division of assets. No alimony either direction. Clean break. You can't do this. Her voice trembled. I can. I am. I placed the envelope on the table. I'm not asking you to sign them today. Take time to review them with your own attorney. I don't understand. Why are you throwing away 3 years? We can fix this. This isn't an impulsive decision. I've spent months realizing how unhealthy our relationship has become. The last 2 days just confirmed it. Her phone stopped buzzing, then immediately started again. This time she answered, switching to speakerphone, a tactical move to bring her sister into the conversation. He's leaving me, she blurted before her sister could speak. What? Put him on, her sister demanded. I'm here, I said evenly. What the hell is wrong with you? Sister snapped. After everything she's done for you? Done for me? Or done to me? I countered. You ungrateful. I'm going to stop you there, I interrupted. This conversation isn't productive. Don't you dare hang up on me. I'm not. I'm simply leaving. I picked up my keys. By the way, I've already moved most of my essential belongings to a new apartment. I'll arrange to get the rest another time. She gasped. You already moved out? When? Last night while you were sleeping. And the night before. So all of this, these talks, they were just for show? Tears streamed down her face. No, they were genuine attempts to see if you could recognize the problem. Your responses gave me my answer. Please, she whispered. Don't do this. It's already done. I walked to the door, pausing only briefly. I genuinely hope you find happiness. And I hope whoever comes next in your life isn't expected to sacrifice their identity to provide it. As I closed the door behind me, I heard her sister still shouting through the speaker. But for the first time in 3 years, none of those voices held power over me. Day 3 was complete. My detoxification plan had succeeded beyond my expectations. In my car, I took a deep breath of what felt like the first truly fresh air in years. I had erased her authority not through cruelty or vengeance, but by simply reclaiming my own. 6 months have passed since I walked out that door. 6 months of rediscovering myself. 6 months of rebuilding the man who had been systematically dismantled over 3 years. The first week was the hardest. Her attempts to regain control were relentless, from teary phone calls to showing up at my workplace with lunch just because. When emotional manipulation failed, she sent her family, then mutual friends, then promises of therapy and change. I remained resolute, not cruel, but unmovable. When the divorce was finalized 3 months ago, I felt no sadness, only relief. The judge seemed surprised by our lack of contention in court. The truth was simpler. Once she realized control was impossible, she quickly lost interest. The relationship had never been about love. It had been about ownership. My new apartment is half the size of our house, but feels infinitely more spacious without the weight of constant surveillance. I've decorated it exactly as I like, including the sports memorabilia she always called tacky and the leather recliner she refused to allow in her living room. My brother and I now have a standing weekly meetup. Last month, we took that fishing trip that had been forbidden for years. The photos from that weekend sit prominently on my desk, a reminder of reclaimed freedom. At work, I've reconnected with colleagues who had slowly disappeared from my life under her influence. My performance has improved dramatically without the constant distraction of responding to her texts and calls. A promotion came through last month. Ironically, the very thing she always pushed for but inadvertently prevented. I've started dating again, cautiously. Nothing serious yet, but I'm learning to recognize red flags I once ignored. When a recent date questioned why I wasn't texting her daily after only 2 meetups, I politely ended things. Boundaries are non-negotiable now. The most meaningful change has been internal. That constant knot of anxiety in my chest has disappeared. I no longer flinch when my phone buzzes. I don't rehearse explanations for innocent actions. I don't catalog my day to ensure my stories align with my movements. Some people ask if I regret throwing away 3 years. I don't see it that way. Those years taught me precisely what I don't want in a relationship. They taught me how easily freedom can be surrendered in small increments. They taught me that love without respect is just another form of captivity. Occasionally, I still receive messages from her, each one more distant than the last as she realizes her hold over me has truly evaporated. The most recent simply asked if I was doing okay. I responded with a simple yes, I am. Both the truth and the period at the end of a chapter. Perhaps the most unexpected outcome of my 3-day detoxification plan has been my own involvement in those same YouTube channels that once saved me. Last month, I recorded my first interview, sharing my experience anonymously. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of comments from men in similar situations, seeking guidance and hope. One comment in particular stayed with me. I've been married for 7 years and haven't seen my best friend in 2 because she doesn't like his energy. Reading your story was like seeing my future if I don't change something now. I responded to him directly. 3 days. That's all it takes to start. Day 1, action. Day 2, confrontation. Day 3, resolution. He messaged me last week. He's 2 days into his own detoxification plan. For those watching this who recognize themselves in my story, know this. The cage may feel secure because it's familiar. The bars may have been disguised as love and concern. But no cage, no matter how gilded, can ever be a home. 3 years of control. 3 days to break free. And now, a lifetime of being the man I was always meant to be. When people ask if I miss being married, I just smile. Being tied to someone who demanded my surrender was never a marriage. It was a hostage situation with date nights. I erased her authority not by becoming a monster in return, but by simply standing up and calmly saying no more. In the end, that was all it took. 3 days to change everything. The best 3 days of my life.
Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.